think maybe we might have Mr. Denny Lane on the phone. Are you there, Denny?
I think so.
Oh my gosh, it worked.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So you are doing a number of tours or a number of shows coming up, I hear.
Yeah, well, I've done this circuit last year, and they wanted me to come back, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well,
Especially
I'm
Third
sorry.
and Lindley, a great place. I love that venue, so it's going to be good. We're going to have a few guests coming up to open for us, a few surprise guests, so should be good.
Great,
Yeah.
that's excellent. Yes, I saw that you played last April, I think it was, here.
Yeah.
And so, have you been doing a lot of touring, a lot of traveling these days?
Yeah, well, I sort of base myself on the East Coast and then go out from there. I've been doing, quite a bit. And then I base myself on the West Coast, and I'm there at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing shows out here with another group of people. But, yeah, I go out a couple of weeks every month sort of thing, So,
Have you been touring ever? I mean, have you spent your entire life touring?
no. Well, maybe I should have, but I've been spent a lot of time in studios over the years and doing projects, but I've been doing the odd occasional shows in between, but I've now concentrated more on doing a lot more live work because that's really what I enjoy doing. So now I've started to do it more often. I'm really, filling the date book up. So
Right.
and I'm enjoying all the fans and everything. It's really great doing live stuff.
It is, and we're very grateful that you're doing it. I wanted to ask you, I was reading up on your influences, and you know how a lot of the bands, you of course were with your band, the Moody Blues, part of the quote-unquote British invasion of America, and many of those bands, notably the Beatles, have said that they were inspired by American rock and roll, Little Richard, and the like. But I've read that one of your major influences when you were young was Django Reinhardt. Is that right?
Yeah. I loved gypsy jazz music. I've always been a big fan of flamenco music and ethnic music, really. But Django was my style of, I wasn't so much jazz, but I was kind of jazz folk, that kind of thing. That's how I started off, which drifted into skiffle, which drifted into rock and roll. So I was, when everybody was into Little Richard and Elvis, I was a little bit younger than the Beatles, a couple of years younger, so I was into other stuff. So, but I got into it through, because he was a guitar player and I like to play guitar, so I got into rock and roll through listening to Buddy Holly more because he was a rock and roll singer-songwriter who played the guitar,
Right. So
yeah.
you're originally from, I think, I'm not going to say it the American way, Birmingham.
Birmingham.
We call it Birmingham.
know.
But Brum Beat, so that's a thing that's kind of like the Mersey Beat out of Liverpool. There were a lot of bands at the time when you were first getting involved in the music scene, and I read that jazz was a huge thing in there, so it seems only natural that you would get caught up in all those different streams.
Yeah, well, Birmingham is it's a factory town like Detroit. You get a lot of, immigrants coming over and working those factories there. Because especially after the war, there was, all the British Empire, Indians and sort of Irish show bands. There's a lot of ethnic music influences came there. So we were watching all that and playing with these people in the clubs and stuff like that. So it always was a kind of a melting pot for music. I went the direction of the Spencer Davis Group, which is friends of mine, and I loved their music. And I wanted to just play blues, and that's how the Moody Blues really got together as a blues band, So, and it developed from there, yeah.
Right. You had some amazing hits with the Moody Blues before you moved on to your next bands. I'm not going to force you to like recite your biography as you've probably done a million times, but I do want to ask you, when you perform now, like when you are going to be performing on Friday, how do you represent all those different kind of eras in your musical life, or do you concentrate on the newer things that you've been doing?
No, I always, obviously I do some stuff off the first Moody Blues album. That was the only album I was involved in. I don't do others there. But yeah, I do a few songs off that, and then I had the big hit with Go Now, so obviously I do that. And a lot of people know that song all over the world, so I mean, very grateful for that. But yeah, and I do some Wings stuff. Obviously, I do a couple of the Wings big hits, and I do the stuff that I wrote and performed in Wings as well, or that Paul and I wrote together. And I do some of my own material off my own solo albums, which isn't so well known, but at least, the audience gets a cross-section of all the different styles and whatever, or time, periods that I was going through.
Right.
So,
yeah. So what would you say of the work that you've done in recent years? How is that different from the work that you did when you were collaborating with Wings or with?
And sort of, develop it that way. You're always kind of developing songs into a new style or whatever,
Right.
And the younger musicians sometimes, and it's just really nice freedom to be able to do that.
Well, that's what it is to be an artist, I suppose, you're continually creating, and building on.
Well, yeah, you should be. You should be able to do that. I mean, you've got to remember a lot of people, I don't want to get too deep into this, but a lot of people are stuck in a rut because they're out there having to play the hits that they were known for, and they don't have a chance so much to go out and do new material, or you know what I mean. There's a lot of bands from that era who are just kind of stuck in that, but they're still working, thank God. So it's a good thing. It's good to see everybody still out there working. Live music is starting to come back, which is great.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but some people Jimi Hendrix is an example. He was a friend of mine, and he didn't want to go out and play the same material every night. He wanted to develop his music. Like, when he was discovered, that's what he was doing, was being an artist. And sometimes the business side of things can stop you from being an artist. So you always have to fight for that.
We know all about that in Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the perfect town for that.
So the last time you were here in Nashville for any extended period of time, correct me if I'm wrong, was in the 70s when Wings came and did some recording and hung out for a summer?
That's right. Well, Send Me the Heart was actually recorded in Nashville, obviously,
yes,
with all the Nashville guys, yeah. So, yeah, we had great parties. I met everybody, from Chet Atkins to Roy Acuff to Jerry Reed to Roy Orbison to all the people that I kind of admired as guitar players and writers. We were meeting in those days because, as I said, we were there for a while, and we were doing some rehearsing in Lebanon. Mm-hmm. So, we rented a house out there, a big house, and we just went out there to meet people and to hang out. So I love Nashville. I just love the standard of musicians and the fact it's kind of a hub again for songwriters. So I'm always into that kind of atmosphere. I like being around other people who think like me,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Nashville really has become, more than country music. That's obvious. But in the past 10 years, just all different genres have exploded. And that's probably one of the reasons why WXNA, the radio station you are on right now, is has been so welcomed in the community because we're freeform, and so every DJ plays whatever kind of music they want to play, and so you can hear anything from Americana and bluegrass to 60s garage rock to jazz to classical to indie, everything. And so I think what you were saying about being with other people who are like you, that's one of the reasons that so many creative types, not just musicians actually, come to Nashville, is because it's just this creative environment where everyone really embraces and is enthusiastic about what they're doing.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it always was like that, but, and it came from early country to what it is now. And I see all the influences. I like, I went to see Toby Keith last time I was on the East Coast. He's got a great band, all great sort of semi-rock musicians. Mm-hmm. I sort of rock with a Nashville accent, you know what I mean? But,
yes.
But I still got a lot of the original authentic instrumentation, as you brought up bluegrass, which I love as well. I know Ricky Skaggs fairly well, and I love people like Tony Rice and all those old bluegrass people. So, that mixture of music, and as I said, violins are still used, pedal steels, and it's a sort of a modern sound, but it's with the old, elements. So I love that. So I love progress. We actually, our first album, the Moody Blues album, was described as progressive rock, whatever that is. But it's kind of a compliment, and it was Donovan, my friend Donovan, who did the back sleeve notes and said that. And I thought about that. I thought, well, that's a compliment in a way, that he sees this as progressive rock. And that's the way I kind of look at everything. I like to mix genres and play with, I had a string band once with 2 violins and 2 cellos. That was kind of influenced a little bit like by George Martin's influence with the Beatles. But, at the same time, it works that you go out and do something a little bit different, and people appreciate that. So that's one of the things about playing with these other sort of diverse musicians that I love to do. So there you go.
That's great. Well, we're certainly looking forward to seeing you on Friday at 3rd and Lindsley, and I'm going to put that information on the Facebook page if listeners want to go to Facebook, to the WXNA page or the Nashville Haps page, and we will see you then.
All right. Let me just mention the band is backing me up is the Choir. Friends of mine, they're the music teachers, but they're a great band, and they're from New Jersey. And I've worked with them over the years, on and off. And also Steve Holly from Wings, last Wings lineup, is playing drums. So it's going to be a good night. And as I said, it's a place we've played before, so we're really looking forward to meeting all our old friends there. I think Gordon Kennedy's getting up to do a couple of songs, and somebody else, so it'll be a good night. And John Salloway, he's a local too.
That's right. I'm sorry, I was remiss to not mention that John Salloway would be playing. We just heard a song from him before you came on the air, and yes, the Criers, your band. You've played quite a bit with them, haven't you?
I have, yeah. But as I said, in different parts of the country, I play with different groups of musicians. And but I've been around with them for probably 10 years on and off doing stuff. So they're all got close friends as well, which always helps. We always have a great time when we go out.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, I don't imagine you'll have too much time to spend in Nashville when you're here, since you're traveling out and about. I think you're playing Memphis a couple of days later.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we're doing 9 dates in a row, so we won't have much time to hang around.
All right. Well, I guess I won't see you at dinner then.
All right. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, Ashley. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. That was Denny Laine of Wings and the Moody Blues. We're going to listen to some more music. If you want to find out about his